What's going on, everybody? Billy here, Storm Trades. Let's do another trade recap. I'll bring you through my super simple process on how I establish my daily bias, how I read the high time frame, market structure narrative, and ultimately how I found my losing trade on CL on Thursday, June 5th AM trading session. Let's get right to it. So I'm starting on the daily. I think uh, I'm not saying I think you should start on the daily. I start on the daily. And I'm looking for a narrative that jumps out at me and where I can clearly see the internal to external or the external to internal like narrative, right? So it needs to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then I'll have a neutral daily bias. Doesn't mean I can't trade that day. I just would rather see something that's very clear. So the first thing I'll do when I'm looking at the daily is I want to mark out the previous daily low, previous daily high. I want to run a fib from the previous daily candle just to sort of see where we are when I'm beginning my analysis. So at this point, we've already expanded through the midpoint here and taken the previous daily high. Okay, just something to take note of, right? I'm looking for internal range liquidity. Are we delivering from anything, right? So we are. We're delivering from this bullish daily fair value gap, right? So that's internal range liquidity. Now we look for price to deliver from internal range liquidity to external range liquidity. So do we have any external range liquidity? Well, but I'm going to mark down here. We also had some relatively equal lows on the daily down below that was actually traded into on Monday. But above here, we had a swing high on the daily, right? So that is an external range liquidity target. And it would make sense that price is moving from internal to external, right? So the narrative is starting to unfold as we're quickly looking at the daily buys. And I took note that we also had relatively equal highs, which are a very good source of buy side liquidity. There's a bunch of buy stops up there, and especially when you have it on a daily level. So we had a swing high here that hasn't been touched. We have some relative equal highs above, and as you'll see here in a second, when I pull up the hourly on Monday, we had a sweep down that took some relative equal lows. The narrative here for me is clearly I'm looking for higher prices. Okay, so that's it. I'm now going to pull up the hourly market structure time frame. The vast majority of my analysis will be on the hourly chart. And with the hourly chart, it's very similar. Okay, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible for myself. Okay, I need it to be simple for me because when I complicate my trading, I get anxiety starts creeping in and doubt, and I'd rather not have that. And I'm sure you're similar. So if I can come up with a system, which I have, to make this as simple as possible, then it just makes my trading day calm and collected, right? So it's not like an emotional roller coaster. And I could be wrong on all of my analysis because price will and does do whatever it wants whenever it wants. But I'm calm because I have a plan, right? So I have a if-then statement that I'm working out on my hourly time frame. Okay, that said, let's pull up the hourly chart. And okay, just how we could clearly see we were moving from internal to external, right? And if you take a look at this chart, okay, we breached this relatively equal lows on the hourly. And from there, we can just sort of talk through price, right? As you're looking at the hourly, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, where's the change in the state of delivery? It's right there, right? That's the down close candle that took the liquidity before the displacement up and through it. Okay. Now I like to draw a fib from there, and we'll come back to this later as to why this -2 to -2.5 was probably a little more relevant than I really anticipated. If I, and we'll get to that once we get to the trade execution. But I also want to make note here that this untouched hourly fair value gap acted as a propulsion PD array. I mean, we never came back in here, right? So when you don't come back and test a PD array that is this large, that just to me shows a lot of bullish. If it's headed upwards, it's telling me that price action is extremely bullish. which makes sense. And it also sort of solidifies the price action that I'm seeing clearly on the daily. All right, I want to make note here that we had a sweep here on Thursday, or excuse me, yeah, it's Thursday, yeah, Thursday morning, and I now want to take a look at where is price currently trading, right? So, oh, one more thing, we went through a bearish hourly fair value gap here, and we closed with authority through it, right? So that's forming an inverse. That in and of itself isn't really doing that much, but it's just, again, it's showing that we're disrespecting bearish PD rays and we're respecting bullish PD rays, right? So all that's telling us is we're most likely still moving higher, okay? Because again, just following the narrative here, it's all sort of falling into place. And for me now, I'm looking at where is price currently located? Can we move down to our execution time frame? And the answer is yes, because we have a bullish hourly fair value gap right here. Now I'm going to move to once I start trading, right at 9 o'clock, I'm going to wait for a sweep into this bullish PD array. And from there, I'll look for displacement up and some sort of a change in the state of delivery, a breaker, an inverse fair value gap, all of that. Okay, I don't need necessarily one of them. A lot of times you'll have all three, but what I really need is a move down into the hourly fair value gap. That's my go time in terms of starting to execute on my plan, right? And my plan here is, even though we've already taken the previous daily high, that wasn't a swing high. I'm looking to take this daily swing high out and ultimately the relatively equal highs. And that to me would make sense as we continue to move higher. Those would be the major targets, major draws on liquidity that I'm looking for. All right, so let's move down to the M5 time frame. And just take note here that we have this hourly fair value gap. Okay, and what I'm looking for is some sort of a sweep. Okay, down into this, and then a displacement up, maybe a retest, and ultimately to head up to the targets above. Okay, so let's push forward price a little bit, and we'll wait for a sweep. And we get a sweep right here. Okay, and right here we get a nice sweep into the hourly fair value gap. I will mark out that we took liquidity here on the M5 time frame into a higher time frame PD array. Now, as soon as I see that, I'm just starting to follow price, and I'm going to mark out the potential changes in state of delivery order blocks. And I'll be looking for price to close through this with some displacement in order for me to want to get on size on a trade. Okay, so I'm watching price. You can take note here, right? Again, I said you'll probably see breakers, changes in state of delivery order blocks, and in inverse fair value gaps every time we have a reversal, right? So this right here is a inversion. I did not enter on that. I wanted to see a close over the change in state of delivery order block and get a spike there, down again. We've sort of, that inverse fair value gap wouldn't be interesting to me anymore. We've already closed below the midpoint of it, so I'm still watching for a close above the change in the state of delivery. We got it right here at this point. I entered with a stop below this swing low and seeking 2R, which would have got me a little bit into the, a little bit past the hourly swing, the daily swing high, and then the relative equal highs above. Okay, so let me put in a buy order here. Stop below swing, take profit at 2R as it coincides with a drawing liquidity that's close, and on the next candle, we got to take it out. Okay. And price never really went any higher. We actually went lower here. So what happened? What happened is you can have an A plus setup and price can do whatever it wants. Trump can tweet. There could be talks of China tariffs. There could be some sort of war breaks out, or nothing at all can happen, and price can just drop, and we have no idea why. That's one thing we have to contend with, right? Just because we have an A plus setup. Now, was it really A plus? Looking back on it, I don't know, right? So if I go back to the hourly, I'll show you where I drew that fib. We had already gone up here to the -2 to -2.5, but if you take a look, we did not get it. We had not gotten a close through there yet. Okay, see, we had some sweeps. We did not have a close. So there's that, and then also it depends how much price has actually moved for the day, right? So you'll hear people talk about ADRs, the average daily range. Well, on this particular day, we had already had a 2.36% move in CL. That combined with the fact that we've already run the -2, -2.5, and we were unable to get any candle closes above it. You know, and then one last thing was we already swept the previous daily high, right? So we knew that when we were doing our analysis on the hourly and on the daily. We already knew that. We just figured we had the draws and liquidity above that were still strong enough to get us there. But it wasn't. So we took an L, no big deal. It's a business expense. We've had a great strike rate recently. And anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. It's always good for me to go through the losses, not just the wins, and try and understand what happened. All right, guys, you have a good one. And if you like this at all, please like and subscribe. I'll try and do this on every trade I take inside of Unicorn University. I am always in there putting in my analysis, my plan, my invalidation levels, and then the trades that I'm taking. I hope you guys are doing great, and see ya.